One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fucking Felony Friday this morning. Great to see everyone in the chat. Let's get it. All right, so on this Felony Friday, we've got 13th night of strikes, as well as War Power's vote fails. It actually went through the House, and then it moved up to the Senate, and then the Senate shut it down. And then we have Trump speaks, of course. So anyways, let's go ahead and give you guys the chronological timeline of what we're going to be discussing this morning quickly. First, we're going to be talking about how the House passes the War Powers resolution to halt U.S. military action in Iran. First, that's a very quick update. It's like 2 minutes long. And then we're going right into the Senate fails to advance War Powers resolution almost back to back on timing of this. Then we have Caroline Leavitt yesterday held a press briefing amid the Iran conflict, obviously. And I actually missed it as well. I haven't watched it at all either. So we're going to watch it together. We're going to get the front half anyways. And then we have DOJ withdraws subpoenas for New York Times over Qatari jet reporting. Now, I actually didn't know that there was like actual subpoenas on the whole Qatari jet thing. I actually didn't even know about that. So we're going to find that out, obviously, as well together. Then we have a protester yesterday takes the microphone from a police chief in Madison, Wisconsin, and starts taking over the briefing, I guess. It's just, I don't know, crazy shit. And then more into the New York City. We got a lot of activity going on in New York City in the last couple of weeks. New York City stabbings. There was 2 that were hospitalized, and the attacker allegedly yelled Allah Akbar. So Allah snack bar. You know what I mean? A person of interest has been taken into custody related to 2 people being stabbed on the Upper West Side. The police are reporting that the NYPD responded to a call related to an assault in the vicinity of West 84th and Central Park West. Officers found a 40-year-old man with a stab wound to his torso. They then found a 50-year-old man with a stab wound near West 86 and Amsterdam Avenue. Both victims were taken to the hospital, obviously. A person of interest, 51-year-old Raul Morales, has been arrested in connection with both of these assaults. Police officials on the scene are currently investigating the situation to see if it constitutes a hate crime. Wow. Okay, so we're going to be getting into that here momentarily. Then we have some crazy shit also up there in Minnesota. It just seems like all of these areas are just nonstop issues. It's like they just cannot get right. Minnesota lawmaker shootings. Vance Bolter sentenced to 2 life terms plus 40 years. I don't know what. So 2 life terms plus another 40. It says a Minnesota man who tried to shift political power by killing Democratic lawmakers will spend the rest of his life in federal prison. The judge handed down 2 consecutive life sentences plus 40 years in federal prison. The longest sentence ever given by this judge, by the way. The punishment was the result of a plea deal, but the judge said it was warranted after hearing from survivors and victims' families. Wow. And then there's more to this, but I'm not going to read all of it. We're going to find out together here. Then we have Trump, regards to the Saudi nuclear deal requires normalization or normalized Israel relations. I don't even know what the fuck that means. And that means they have to keep in contact with a country that's supposedly not supposed to have nuclear programs or not to have to the level of nuclear weapons. Interesting. And then we have U.S. forces launch more strikes to, quote, hold Iran accountable. And this is coming out 13 hours ago. So the U.S. military launched more strikes against Iranian targets on Thursday, obviously. U.S. Central Command forces successfully completed the 13th straight night of nights against Iran, July 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's when it ended last night. It says here, CENTCOM targeted Iranian military command centers, which this is the same kind of rhetoric that we're getting every day. The targeted Iranian military command centers, drone storage facilities, communication networks, coastal surveillance sites, and maritime capabilities to further diminish the threat Iran poses to civilian mariners and commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. All right. And then we got a couple more here. Protest disrupts fatal police shooting press conference. This is coming out 12 hours ago. On Thursday, the Madison police held a, and I think this is what we're talking about with that whole protester that came up there. So it's interesting that they covered it twice. They must have had maybe some updated details on that. And then super early, we're talking about 9 hours ago. So about 1 a.m. Central Standard Time. Mamdani calls Netanyahu a war criminal and urges U.S. to enforce ICC warrant, which is the International Criminal Court, by the way, which the United States and Israel both don't recognize, by the way. Anyways, that's not any at all surprising, going to be honest. Let's quickly do our call to actions, and then we'll get right into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it, and it's free to do so. Hitting that subscribe button is also free. This is what we do Monday through Friday, and then, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning, man. Now, speaking of members, please consider becoming a member starting only at $4.99 a month. Making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. This allows us to be, on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, as well as politics, all that great shit. It's a great way to get hold of me one-on-one. And also, we break news not on Instagram and social media and all that stuff in the aspect of minute-by-minute plays. We do that in the Discord server. So we all hang out in there. And then there is, at the top, there's a little subsection for breaking news, and that's where we break minute-by-minute news. And last but not least, and that where you get in, by the way, the invite link is the video description down below, and you guys will grab that invite link for the Discord. Last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen. At any time you can donate to those. And of course, I get 100% of the proceeds, and we'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a normal super chat. So I've got my email up. We'll always be scanning, making sure we're not missing anything. Real quick, got to give a big special shout out to Mr. Al Patterson. Right before we started, he gifted out a membership before we could even start. So thank you, kind sir. Not only helping me, but someone else in the IWF, as well as Virginia Chaos, is also gifting out a membership this morning. Thank you very much for your guys' support. It goes a long way. All right. Good morning to everybody, man. Let's go ahead and scroll up and see if I can say hi to a few of you anyways. We'll definitely try our best because we got always the legends in here, man. We got Charles Darwin as well. Good morning to you. We got Naomi in the building. Let's see. We got Pablo, my man. Good morning to you. We got Vanguard Critters as well as Rabbit of Chaos. Good morning. Let's see. We're running our way down. We got Kel up there in Canada. Good morning to you as well. OG brother Steve Easy. Yes, sir. We got Carney Vanguard as well, letting you guys know to double tap the screen if you're on the vertical side. That's a fact. We've got Brother Glare as well. Good morning to you, kind sir. Let's see. We're running our way down. Yes, sir. Let's see. We're running our way down. I promise. I've got super big exotic. Yes, sir. Good morning to you. Let's see. We're scrolling down. Man, you guys are chatterbox up in here. I love it. We got extra surprise. Baker, good morning to you as well. We got Steve Posey. And yes, Glare, supposedly he did say some Allah Akbar shit, but for us, it's Allah snack bar. All right, let's go ahead and see what else we got here. We got Charlie Rose. Good morning to you, as well as Motobomb Virginia. Shout out to you guys. We got Stephanie as well. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's see. Scrolling. We got No Grow as well. I see you in here. Good morning to you. Let's see. Running our way down. All right. Looks like we're pretty much caught up. We got Easy Frank as well. Good morning. All right. Let's get into this. We got too much to get through this morning. Obviously, as you guys can see on the thumbnail and the title, we were talking about the War Powers vote fails. This is regards to the House. It went through the House first, obviously, and then it succeeded through the House and went up to the Senate, and then the Senate basically shot it down almost right away. So we've got that, and this is what the thumbnail is today, what we're talking about right here, right off the bat, about the War Powers resolution. So let's go ahead and get into it.
All right, welcome in here to Live Now from Fox. As we're following this breaking news, we're learning the House has passed another Iran War Powers resolution. This reporting coming in here from Fox's Chad Pergram, as he says the House just passed another Iran War Powers resolution aimed at stopping the Trump administration from engaging.
Real quick, before she continues on, we got Kel up there in Canada spending a 10 spot on us. I very much appreciate that, kind sir. Thank you for showing so much love and support to the show. Thank you, yes, sir.
In hostilities in Iran, the final vote was 214 to 208. 4 Republicans voted with Democrats to pass this. The 4 GOPers were Fitzpatrick, Davidson, Massey, and Barrett. Now, I wanted to bring you out to this live look as we continue to follow this breaking news. This is the White House press briefing that is set to start here in just about 20 minutes.
Now, that White House press briefing I do have for you guys. So we're going to disregard this. She's just showing that it was about to happen yesterday, but we actually have the obvious thing here. But real quick, let me go ahead and just skip ahead here a little bit because there's not much to talk about on that.
Dwindling progress at this point. Now, the Houthi attack threatened to open a new front in the war, sending prices for fuel and other goods increasing across the world, with the standoff in the Gulf deepening as the United States and Iran are really vying for control of the Strait of Hormuz. And here's a live look as of right now, courtesy of Marine.
What's up, Uncle Fester? My man. Shout out to you, by the way. Good morning to you over there on the West Coast.
Traffic. U.S. Central Command said its strikes were designed
VPS
to
as well. Good morning.
Iran's ability to threaten civilian mariners and commercial vessels transiting regional waters as the Americans push to regain control over the strait and restore the flow of international shipping. Now, President Trump, he warned yesterday that the U.S. would destroy one bridge or power plant each time Iran shoots at a ship in the strait.
Which we've already covered. We talked about that for the last couple of days, actually. Let's see if this is it right here. No, this is it looks like a little bit of a newer post. Let's see this.
Infrastructure. President Trump also shared this morning as he says they are starting up again. If they do this again, the U.S. will hold Iran responsible in that the Houthis are a surrogate and or proxy of Iran, and major military punishment will be inflicted upon Iran and, of course, the Houthis themselves.
Damn. All right. Now, obviously, as you guys know, went through the House, it passed, and now it went up to the Senate. Now, almost immediately, the Senate shot it down. So let's go ahead and bring this up, figure out what's happening here.
You're watching Live Now from Fox as we're following this breaking news as the Senate has failed in this push to limit President Trump's war powers when it comes to Iran. This post coming in from the Senate press gallery, as they say, by a vote of 47 to 49, the Senate did not discharge SJ Resolution 180 Van Hollen War Powers Resolution, Iran. Democratic Senator...
Damn, by 2 votes, 47 to 49.
Fetterman voted no. GOP Senator Collins voted aye. Senators not voting, Britt, McConnell, Murkowski, and Paul. Now, in the simplest of terms here, basically, this is a failed procedural effort in the Senate to limit or end the military action against Iran without prior congressional approval. So normally a bill will sit inside a Senate committee before reaching.
Real quick, before she continues, we got brother VC, Virginia Chaos, sending in a Cash App for $5. He says, see how long I can squeeze through. Yes. Well, you weren't able to squeeze through at all, by the way. So usually what he's getting at is he'll send a donation on one of the Cash Apps or whatever, and I'll miss it. and then I end up seeing it like 30 minutes later. So not this time.
The full floor. A discharge motion is this procedural shortcut, if you will.
Thank you,
that's
VC.
really designed to force a bill out of committee and onto the Senate floor for a full debate and vote. But because this vote failed, the Senate refused to pull the bill out of committee. This is effectively stalling it and preventing it from moving forward. Now, as we have been sharing here, this is really just symbolic, because even if this did pass there in the upper chamber, it wouldn't have gone to President Trump's desk. Now, again, all of this coming here as the House just a short time ago had voted on a very similar resolution there, but they passed that resolution to stop U.S. military action in Iran, sending this warning to President Trump for the second time. And that was a 214 to 208 vote requiring congressional approval for the war. But as we just saw here and now, as we're reporting on, the Senate has failed to...
Just real quick. So, well, I'll let this finish, and then I'll kind of expand on what the War Powers Resolution is for you guys.
The Iran War Powers Resolution. And we have several social media reactions coming in here. And this one says, just now, Democrats and Republicans in the House came together and passed a war powers resolution to stop Trump's illegal war with Iran. This war is putting our troops in harm's way, costing taxpayers billions, driving up gas prices, and making us less safe. So just for some clarification, if you are just joining us, maybe you weren't tuning in a bit earlier on here today, the House earlier on narrowly passed this resolution, but the Senate has failed to advance the War Powers Resolution. So we wanted to bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox as we were watching there.
And obviously, we're watching this nonstop. So real quick, before we get into Caroline Leavitt and the press briefing, so let me go ahead and explain what is the War Powers Resolution, okay? The Constitution gives Congress the power to declare war. The president is the commander-in-chief, meaning they can direct the military, especially in emergencies. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 was passed after the Vietnam War to prevent presidents from keeping the U.S. in long military conflicts without Congress's approval. So think of it like this, right? Congress owns the car. The president gets to drive it. But if the president wants to take a long road trip, Congress is supposed to approve it. That's essentially how it works. So what does a War Powers Resolution do? It's Congress essentially saying, Mr. President, if we're going to continue this war, you need our approval. If passed, it can direct the president to end or limit U.S. military involvement unless Congress authorizes continued hostilities. The effectiveness and constitutionality of these resolutions are often disputed by presidents of both parties, so they also carry significant political weight. So obviously, the reason why everyone's talking about it right this second is because it is nonstop kind of going through Congress. I think this is the fourth time it's been through the House. But anyways, I just wanted to explain what that was for just the normal person that doesn't, not everyone geeks out on this shit, like me.
White House to celebrate.
So let's get into this Caroline Leavitt and what she's getting out with the press briefing.
Their second consecutive World Series championship. Tomorrow night, the president will attend the White House Correspondents Association dinner round 2, celebrating free speech in the First Amendment alongside all of you members.
What's up, Carrie? Good morning to you, by the way. Happy Felony Friday to you and everybody. Great to see you guys.
The media. The president looks forward to finishing what he started before a despicable assassination attempt derailed the original event back in April, as we all know. And I encourage everyone watching tomorrow night to tune in for what promises to be a very entertaining and memorable evening.
Oh, shit. We got Sterling Wheel as well. Good morning to you. Looking
ahead to next week, on Monday, President Trump will travel to Michigan to deliver remarks on the economy. On Tuesday afternoon, the president will deliver a tribute honoring the life and legacy of his dear friend, Senator Lindsey Graham, at the National Cathedral. And next Friday, the president will host the 13th cabinet meeting of this term at Camp David, which will be a lot of fun and something different for the cabinet to experience together. Turning now to the economy. A little more than a year after President Trump signed the Working Families Tax Cuts into law, this historic legislation continues to deliver on its promise, unleashing a genuine boom for American workers, families, and small businesses. The numbers speak for themselves. This was the biggest tax refund season in American history, with the average refund exceeding $3,400, an 11% increase over the last year. American families and workers claimed $82 billion in direct tax relief, and 97% of filers received a tax cut. More than 29 million workers claimed no tax on overtime. More than 35 million seniors claimed no tax on Social Security. And nearly 8 million workers claimed no tax on tips. Thanks to the other pro-growth provisions in the Working Families Tax.
Yeah, you guys know, no tax on tips. So send in your freaking money. Absolutely. Make sure you donate to the channel.
Tax cuts,
Thank you, guys.
like making the 20% small business tax
What's up, Barbie?
deduction
Good morning.
permanent and delivering 100% expensing for new factories, equipment, and research. The Trump administration is setting up American manufacturers and workers to thrive like never before. Just this week, the National Association of Manufacturers, which is the largest...
Yeah, well, in all fairness, I do have her sped up because we have so many things that we got to get through in the morning that we squeeze into a single hour. Sometimes we run about maybe an hour and 15 sometimes on overtime. But I try to cram all these stories into a single episode. So she is sped up, in all fairness.
Manufacturing Association in the country released a detailed report showing exactly how these tax cuts are driving investment, job creation, innovation, and long-term growth in all 50 states. In fact, I'd like to take a moment to highlight just a few of the real American businesses that this law is helping. Pivot Manufacturing in Arizona made the largest equipment purchase in company history after the Trump tax cuts gave them the long-term certainty to invest with confidence. Winton Machine Company in Georgia is on pace for the best year in its history. Ketchy Inc. in North Carolina was able to purchase new machinery and expand its workforce by 25%. And Juergens in Ohio expanded its brand new facility to increase production. And they're also paying their workers even more thanks to the no tax on overtime provision. These are not just great statistics. These are American businesses with the confidence to grow, hire, and invest right here at home rather than offshoring their jobs. And a business...
Real quick, we got Charlie Rose sending in 440 joules, which is $4.40, saying with the Uncle Alert, sending in the gifts over there on the vertical side. Thank you very much for that. That goes a long way. Thank you for making it happen. Let's go.
Opening or expanding in this country means more opportunity and higher wages for American workers. It means a chance for the American dream for young families, and it means restoring...
Actually, the tree that got struck by lightning right here outside my house right here, actually, fortunately, it didn't damage it. I thought it was totally going to kill it. But it really only, it didn't even explode like that. Like there was only a couple of pieces of bark and that was it. I couldn't believe it.
The belief that we can make and build things right here at home. This is what President Trump promised, and it's exactly what he is delivering with the help of Republicans in Congress. Democrats throw around the word affordability a lot, but when they had the chance to vote for the largest middle-class tax cuts in history, they refused. If Democrats got their way, it would have meant the largest tax increase in history, $4 trillion. 90% of Americans would have seen their taxes go up, and it would have been a...
What's up, Prez? Good morning.
...complete disaster for our economy. That's the Democrat solution to, quote, affordability. It is raising your taxes. So I hope the press will cover more of the massive success stories resulting from the working families tax cuts and point out that every single Democrat on Capitol Hill voted against every single common sense provision that put more money back into the pockets of the American people. Finally, on the energy front, after this briefing, President Trump will participate in a historic ratepayer protection pledge event at the EPA headquarters down the street. The president will expand the ratepayer protection pledge to governors, state legislatures, developers, and power providers to ensure that everyone involved in building and powering data centers pays their own way. Instead,
you know something that I always trip out about is how she is younger than me. I'm 31 years old and she's younger than me.
Passing those costs on to hardworking families. The president will be joined by Energy Secretary Chris Wright, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, and several governors who have already signed on to this pledge. And it has already proven to be remarkably successful. Nearly 200 additional stakeholders have signed on since it was first announced, including utilities, data center developers, public power authorities, co-ops, and state governors. As a result, the pledge now covers 80% of all the power delivered to American homes and businesses. President Trump's bold leadership is turning data centers from a source of concern into engines of growth and opportunity for communities across this country, all while cementing America's dominance over China in the global AI race. The president is ensuring the American people are never left footing the bill so private companies can benefit. Instead, President Trump is leveraging the data center boom to deliver real, tangible benefits for working families and small businesses. So we have a busy day here. Rest assured, I'll take some questions. And here in our new media seat, we have Cam from Town Hall.
We're going to take maybe a handful of questions, maybe 2 or 3, maybe.
Cam, thank you for being
here. Just depends how good their fucking questions are. Otherwise, we got to move on. We got a lot to get over and go through.
Here, why don't you kick us off today?
Thank you. 2 quick questions. One on Congress. First off, Speaker Mike Johnson passed a continuing resolution earlier this week.
Yeah, that's fitting. You put 2 retards at the helm. You know what I mean? Yeah, I could never be the speaker. Never.
John Thune has said he wants to work with Democrats to find a way to fund the government.
No, easy, Frank.
What is the White House's stance on the best way to keep the government funded?
Well, the White House's stance is that the government needs to be funded. This president and Republicans on Capitol Hill from both chambers, as you just mentioned, the House and the Senate, Republicans want to keep the government open. We want to work together to find ways to do that. And the White House will continue to have discussions with Senate leadership on the best path forward. I don't want to get ahead of those conversations, but the most important thing for the American people to know is that this president and this White House wants the government to remain open, unlike the Democrats in this town who have been acting as obstructionists. We've seen time and time again, they have chosen to block this administration, to block Republicans in Congress from keeping our government open, which does not help anyone, and it especially hurts the American people who depend on our government remaining open so they can access the critical services that our government provides to so many Americans across the country.
Real quick, she's gonna probably about to end right there. We got Naomi with the letting us know. Hit the like button by double tapping the screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Yes, make sure you guys hit that like button. You don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world, but you guys can like it for me and what's happening right here on Insane Wheels. So I appreciate that. Let's see. We got Steve Easy says, Mike, did you see Trump says data centers are great and don't complain and just go along with them? Yes, I did see to an extent. Not that the just go along with it kind of thing. I didn't see that rhetoric, but I have seen him in the recent talk about data centers and how they're great. And I'm like, fuck no, dude. Fuck no.
So these conversations are continuing, but I think I just made the president's position quite clear.
Thank you. And then on the Saudi Arabian nuclear
What's up, Miss Lotus? Good morning to you.
deal, what steps is the U.S. taking to get Saudi Arabia to sign the Abraham Accords?
Sure. Well, the president himself has spoken on this many times. His True Social post this morning, and I will read it for those at home who missed it. The civil nuclear deal, there will be no enrichment of material, an important point being made between the Department of Energy and Saudi Arabia, which pertains only to non-military use, will be approved, but is totally subject to Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful Abraham Accords. The United States is not opposed to civil nuclear facilities, as we all know. Look, this is a condition that the president has spoken about many times with our Gulf and
What's up, Seymour Cannabis? Good morning to you as well.
Arab allies.
Happy Felony Friday to you and everybody.
He wants to see these countries sign the Abraham Accord. It was one of the most historic accomplishments of his first term, and it continues to be a long-term goal of his to expand those accords to ultimately come to a place where the Middle East can be a peaceful and stable region. And yes, this deal with Saudi Arabia, the energy deal, is contingent on this condition as far as the president is concerned. So we'll continue to talk with our Saudi counterparts to get the deal finalized and hopefully see them joining the Abraham Accords very soon. Thank you.
What's up, Mountain Woman? Good morning.
In regards to the Saudi nuclear deal,
Great to see
why
you.
was that condition not mentioned yesterday when the Energy Secretary announced it?
Well, look, the president is always the final deal maker, as you know, and this is something that he has mentioned on numerous occasions going back. I can provide you with those statements. And he has said if they don't join the Abraham Accords, the deal is off. So we'll continue to have those conversations with our Saudi counterparts moving forward.
So
We'll
the
take
deal
one
is
more
that
question.
If Saudi Arabia doesn't join, and have you any
No.
indication that Saudi Arabia is even considering this?
Again, the president has spoken.
That's actually a very good question that the guy just asked about Saudi Arabia and the nuclear program that we're supposedly trying to make happen, I guess. We spent many of years, long time, making sure that those motherfuckers don't get a nuclear weapon. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden it's like, but I guess they have to report, out of all people, they have to like report to Israel when Israel isn't even supposed to have nuclear power, like nuclear weapons, right?
Directly with the Saudis about this in numerous conversations in the past, and the administration will continue to engage in those conversations.
Will Saudi
Alexandra.
Arabia be exempt from international inspections as part of this deal if it moves forward?
I don't want to comment on the specifics of the deal as we're still, again, as I just said, talking especially about this very important condition that the president raised this morning. Alexandra.
So good to see you.
You too.
So Treasury Secretary Bessent voiced concern this week on China potentially distilling or stealing AI technology from the United States, kind of manipulating it as their own. Anthropic said that the largest distilling attack happened last month. Do you think this will come up when the president meets with President Xi in September?
Well, I have had the honor of being part of some of the meetings and discussions between.
Yes, and as long as it stays in domestic nuclear, like where they're doing it for energy and stuff like that, absolutely.
President Trump and President Xi, and I can tell you there is
Even Iran should be able to do that.
always a wide range of topics that
In my
come up.
opinion.
I would imagine this would be something. It's of high importance to the president and of this administration to obviously ensure that America remains dominant in the AI race, and we're obviously tracking the particular situation.
See, they're just so, it's so fucking lame watching these Republicans that are so like, yeah, data centers. No, fucking L data centers. Real quick, we got my man, Big Al, in the chat, by the way. Al Patterson sends in a 5-spot saying, money money now. Absolutely. Thank you for the 5-spot in the Cash App where I get to keep 100% of the proceeds, by the way. Yes, let's go ahead and do the money part now.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Actual factuals, by the way.
Denied.
But I still love you guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. Here we go.
That you mentioned.
I have one more if you don't mind. This week we've seen
We'll
some
take
major
one.
players in
We'll take. I know I said one more about 2 questions ago, but they were decent questions. One more question.
Democrat politics, voicing or alerting really how much influence socialism, communism has had now on kind of mainstream Democrat politics. Is there any chance that the president would be interested or is considering working with left of center Democrats to push back on this?
Well, unfortunately, we don't seem to have too many of those left in the Democrat Party. We have literal self-proclaimed communists who are winning elections and who are claiming to be the new leadership of the Democrat Party. I think the vast majority of Americans understand the dangers of communism. Just look at countries all over this world. As an example, Cuba right now is a country that is about to be a failed state because of the communist policies of the past several decades. Communism should never be allowed to lead this country, and the president obviously is strictly opposed to it and all the dangers that it reaps. We've seen it happen across the world. Meredith.
Just to continue
Okay,
on
that's good enough right there. We'll call it there. We'll call it good. Real quick, we got Brother Blair coming in with the 21 months saying, damn, almost 2 years in. Yes, sir. I very much appreciate that, by the way. Let's fucking go. Absolutely. W. I'll give you the sandwich clip.
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
Actual factuals. All right, let's go ahead and get into this next story here. So the DOJ withdraws subpoenas for New York Times over Qatari jet reporting. So remember the jet reporting that the New York Times did. I forget exactly what they had reported on that wasn't that was ridiculous. I can't really exactly remember, but there was some things going on about, like where they're going to be sued or whatever. And well, it sounds like the DOJ has now withdrawn their subpoenas for the New York Times. Let's see here. Regards to the Qatari jet reporting.
Thanks for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. I want to continue on with some of this breaking news just now coming.
Oh, shit. Real quick. I missed a dono. Let's see. We got Glare coming in with the 2 spot saying for the lap dance. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Good times.
For our newsroom, putting this up on your screen with our partners there at the Associated Press. We do want to give you an update on a story as it says that the U.S. government has now withdrawn subpoenas for the New York Times reporters in its investigation.
Oh, shit. We got the Cash App popping right now. We got Miss Lotus that sends in a 5 spot, by the way, and sends in some black hearts. Yes, I appreciate that, by the way. Thank you very much for that. And then we got Virginia Chaos also sending in another 5 spot on the Cash App saying, Al Patterson got it hot. Encourage others to join. Yes, sir. Well, thank you, all of you guys, for the help and the contributions to the channel, man.
Of sources related to the new Air Force One jet. I want to put some video up on your screen as well here so you can get an idea of what this massive jet looks like. But this is coming from the Associated Press. Criticized by a federal judge for sloppy legal work, the government today withdrew subpoenas that it would have compelled 3 New York Times reporters to testify about their sources for articles about President Trump's Qatari-gifted Air Force One jet. This withdrawal in the U.S. District Court followed a remarkable back and forth between a very visibly irritated judge and government attorneys. They come at a time when the Trump administration is now vigorously going after news organizations whose reporting and coverage it doesn't like. It is also trying to crack down on leaks inside of the government. The government's retreat in the face of this vigorous legal opposition and stern reprimand from a judge has now just marked the latest instance of the DOJ pulling back on its aggressive efforts to compel journalists to identify their sources before a grand jury. The administration recently withdrew similar subpoenas that sought to compel testimony in Virginia from journalists from the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. The judge went on to say that he otherwise would have granted the newspaper's request to reject the subpoenas because laws and regulations pertaining to subpoenas served on journalists maintain that they should be issued as a last resort in an investigation. We did hear from the judge saying this, quote, subpoenas are the last step, not the first step, but the last step, citing rules to set protection against the violations of the First Amendment. He then went on to say that the government's actions had turned the law and the regulations, quote, on its head. So we'll continue to keep you updated with the very latest here on Live Now from Fox. But this is, of course, pertaining to the new jet in question, which we're showing here on your screen. It was the president from
that fucking jet is awesome. I got to be honest about
Qatar
it.
that the Trump administration spent $400 million to retrofit and upgrade. This is a recently entered service, but President Trump did use an older model Air Force One jet, of course, to leave the NATO summit in Turkey earlier this month. The Times is citing anonymous sources reporting that the switch had come at the urging of the Secret Service, and that the newer plane lacked some of the advanced security features of the older Air Force One jet, including anti-missile capabilities. On social media, President Trump rejected those claims of those security concerns. The Times then later wrote a letter to the judge several days ago that the two subpoenas were seeking those records beginning on January 1st, long before the newspaper had published articles on July 8th and July 9th that became the basis for the grand jury subpoenas. But again, this is the update that we have here, breaking from the Associated Press.
Yeah, 747s are big, man. All right, we're gonna move on. We got protesters take microphone from this police chief in Madison, Wisconsin. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Here we go. I haven't even seen it yet. We're gonna watch it live together. Well, not live, but you know what I mean. Live right now.
Trust in this department is not.
This happened yesterday, by the way.
It's something any of us can assume. It is by far our greatest commodity. It must be earned continuously, and I think it can be lost in a single afternoon. The thinness of trust in the city right now did not start.
Well, we can shut this down. You can stop talking because we don't want to hear anything you've been saying. You're going to say the same thing you all say every time a black body gets shot down in this city. This is a corrupt city. That's right. Have no fear. The anti-Zionist is here. You understand me? You won't be able to talk today because I'm going to keep talking because I was born to talk my talk. And
I was born to talk my talk. Oh, my God, yo.
My walk too. I told these young people back here on our way here that we have the power, not that badge, not that weapon. We have the power. The city of Madison is corrupt, from the DA to the what's the name of this? The Department of Independent Monitoring. We don't want any of that talk.
We got Brother VC sending in a 2-spot, by the way. Virginia Chaos, very much appreciate you. Says, did Blair say $2 lap dances? I support strippers with the $2.
Oh, shit! Oh,
yes, sir. Thank you for the cash out.
You've given us this speech with you'll deliver justice. Oh, we've seen the cameras. We've seen. It was a knife in this young man's hand. We don't want to hear that today. We didn't want to hear it when they put their neck on George Floyd's neck. We don't their foot on George Floyd's neck, and we don't want to hear it today. What do you have to say about that? No. Oh, you don't get to talk, I said. Right. Go ahead.
Enough is enough. I'll step aside.
That's right. Give me this microphone then. Excuse me.
Oh,
That's
shit.
Right. My name is Carlos.
Oh, shit. This motherfucker.
Tap. All power to all people.
And he actually steps aside. This is the police chief, by the way.
Zero power to Zionists, zero power to capitalists, zero power to colonialism. What you are doing right now in this city is continuing the disgusting nature of colonialism, the disgusting nature of imperialism. Look up the definition of imperialism. It's all within the policies, which means when these police officers come down on the street and they decide that they want to take the life of another brown body, there is no oversight for that. That's imperialism, ladies and gentlemen. This man signed up to be an enforcer of imperialism. Is there anybody else want to say anything? It doesn't matter what, okay, the people want to talk. Come up here, the people want to talk. The people want to talk. Come up here.
No, I think you want to talk.
This is our press conference. And I put my lips all over the...
Look, he came in with a fucking megaphone on his side in an indoor event, by the way.
This microphone. Power to the people. No power to Zionists. That's right. Anybody got anything they want to say? Let us know. You got some questions y'all want to ask? Ask us some questions. We're taking questions.
Oh, God. Look.
I didn't think so. Turn up.
Corrupt cops deserve to die too. Fuck you, kill Peterson. What? Holy shit.
Your Zionist noses, because your entire communications and media department is all about Zionism and colonialism. We will not stand.
And then the media put it out. They noticed that it was fucked up, so So they just blurred the entire screen, yo.
Of the class that has been oppressed and struggled my entire life. My grandma.
Hey, I got a question for the mainstream media.
Why are you gay? You are gay.
It's true, though.
The struggle. My mother struggled.
Yeah, there they go. They let it go.
Struggled. Those people struggled. We go back far enough, and we can see that there was a white European that colonized us, that stole land, that committed genocide right here on America. And you guys want to host your bourgeoisie revolution. You guys want to run your mouths about how disgusting socialism is. You haven't seen socialism, okay? I am a revolutionary intercommunalist, okay? I believe that there is no separation of the struggle. You see my hand right here? This is how this is fragmentation. All of these struggles, Palestine, Congo, America, Sudan, Venezuela. But when you put that fist together, you get the power of intercommunalism. So I'm on Donald Trump's side, okay? I don't like communism because you guys have rebranded communism. You guys have took socialism radical. And the fight for liberation and turned it into something you can profit for. Just like the nonprofit organizations inside of this city. I've seen the paperwork. I've followed the paper trail. I have smelled the Zionism all throughout your city. It is time for you guys to wrap it up. You got. It's time to go. You don't have no questions. Let's go. It won't be no meeting today. You go for it.
That we are all here for a conversation, and I would like to hear what the police chief has to finish saying. And I want you to also be a part of that conversation because this is an opportunity for us to have a conversation.
So what you're doing is you coddling up to imperialism, brother. There will be no coddling to imperialism. If you don't have a question about what kind of charges are going to be brought so you are coddling to imperialism. I don't stand for that. I'm fundamentally rejected, brother.
Oh my fucking God.
Oh shit! Oh shit! If you got some questions about what's going to happen to these pigs that killed that young man because he appeared to be homeless, then let us know. Will there be just so? That sounds like a song. There will be no investigation.
The police have asked DCI to do is a homicide investigation. So one second, because I don't do the yelling over black men.
I don't care.
All right, listening in there.
And she started clapping for the opposition. That's hilarious.
To this press conference that took a bizarre turn. One of the protesters
this is crazy.
Following that fatal police shooting, taking the...
Hey, that was good content, though. You know, it was funny. All right, we got to move on. So on some serious topics here, we got NYC stabbings, 2 hospitalized. The attacker allegedly yelled Allah Akbar. That's literally the fucking headline, by the way. So, Allah snack bar. Here we go. Let's go ahead and figure out what the fuck is going on. NYC in the last week and a half, it's been chaos over there, man.
Been following reports of a person of interest being taken into custody relating to 2 people being stabbed on the Upper West Side. Fox 5 New York has been reporting on this. In fact, they're reporting on this on their streaming show, just interviewing a witness to the incident itself. Let's listen in to Fox 5's coverage. Richard Giacobis is anchoring.
All right, now we're going to go back to our top story tonight, which is this double stabbing on the Upper West Side that the NYPD is believed to be a hate crime. We have Dr. Davis Silton, who joins us now. And Dr. Silton, you're on with us much of our time here at Fox 5. We thank you for coming on with us tonight. You were a witness in part to this attack tonight. Tell us kind of what you saw and what you knew. What you know, and then we want to maybe get into.
So this is an actual witness, I guess,
to how really this can affect people's mental health.
Yeah, it's very upsetting. This story comes very personally to me. It was a very dear friend of mine who was stabbed by someone.
Wow. So it was her friend that actually got stabbed.
I was coming out of the synagogue. We were all, for Tisha B'Av. It's a very sad day, and so already it's a day of mourning of sorts. And I was just saying goodbye to my good friend, and he walked walked out, and I was in the synagogue putting some stuff away, and then I heard someone had been stabbed on 86 in Amsterdam, and by the time I arrived there, he was already off to the hospital. But I spoke to direct eyewitnesses who said that that basically this man had yelled Allahu Akbar and had taken a screwdriver and stabbed him directly in the chest.
So that's what he was using to stab people, a fucking screwdriver. Jesus.
And then he was kind of keeled over, and then the guy walked away and kind of pretended that he was not culpable and said, oh, maybe someone should call 911. It looks like someone's hurt on the street. So he was not, he was trying to kind of fit in with the crowd and then ran off. So that's what I know. I was able.
What's up, Fidel? Great to see you back in the chat, my man. Good morning to you.
To visit the victim in the hospital, and he's just, he's brave and he's courageous, but it is incredibly scary. And he's just praying that the condition doesn't get worse. It doesn't get worse. He had to literally
infected.
pull the screwdriver out of his body, so it was in deep enough that happened. And
fuck, dude.
It was just really terrifying and traumatizing.
Yeah, that shit sucks.
I'm sure not only for them, but the witnesses that saw it, and even for you as his friend, because when it is an alleged hate crime, it just takes it to another level. And the police commissioner and the mayor are both reporting that was spoken during this stabbing, that those words were spoken tonight. So, you as a Jewish New Yorker, how do you feel about it?
It's a really horrible thing, first of all, to experience it personally, in terms of a very close friend. It's as a Jewish person, it's terrifying. And just in general, I think we are very concerned about safety in New York City. We constantly feel that we need more security everywhere. These hate crimes are really terrifying. You don't know, when they're going to happen. And I think we really, as a city, need to take real responsibility and recognize a hate crime when we see it. 3 different individuals heard those words of Allahu Akbar said, and we need to do whatever we can to protect our, religious institutions, our schools, every possible place where that could be more vulnerable in these kinds of situations. And of course, it impacts people's mental health. It's traumatic for not only those who experience it or those who are relatives or friends of the individuals, but for anyone in the community.
Well, okay, you're not saying anything that anybody doesn't know in these aspects. So,
so I think that, we want to do everything we can to keep people safe. And that's what I think ideally we want to try to do.
And I think for people listening to this tonight, whether you practice the Jewish faith or not, you can relate, because you feel like, well, what if it was me that was being attacked for my belief and what I stand for? So how do we as a city, and maybe goes beyond the city, the country, approach this? And how do we get through this? Because it does take a toll on mental health.
I think we need to be super careful about security. I think we need to be thoughtful about, funding security where it needs to.
Yeah, not only that, I see you in the chat, by the way, talking about Mom Donnie. We actually have a story that comes out early this morning at like 1 a.m. Central Standard Time, which I'm going to play here in a bit. We still got a handful of stories to go through. But Mamdani calls Netanyahu a, quote, war criminal and urges U.S. to enforce ICC warrant, which is the International Criminal Court, by the way, which the United States doesn't, we don't recognize them. So
I think we want to recognize when people do need mental health support. And I think people need to take these crimes really seriously because, as you said, this could have happened to anyone here in terms of the Jewish faith or of other faiths that are marginalized and discriminated against. And we really need to be there. We need to unify as a community. We need our governor to be on the same page and really protect the citizens of New York and, of course, the citizens of the world. We need to feel that we are safe. We need to feel that we're protected. We need to feel that our mayor is really doing everything he can to ensure all of his citizens are safe and that the
safe. That's all.
Proper security measures are in place.
Get out of here with that
to
shit.
ensure that.
No one's ever safe ever. So act accordingly.
It's tough to even think about tonight. And when it's a friend of yours, it has to just hit home that much more. But Dr. Sultan, we We thank you for joining us tonight and for being brave.
Yes, and also he's just gonna kiss her ass the entire time there. I don't need to hear that. We got Steve Easy letting us know, yes, double tap the screen, give a like for Mike. If you guys are on the vertical side, double tap that screen, man. Appreciate you guys. You don't have to like all this craziness, but you guys can like it for what we do here on Insane Wheels. All right, we got to get into this next story here. Minnesota lawmaker shootings, Vance Bolter, sentenced to 2 life terms plus 40 years. All right, let's go ahead and figure out what's going on here. This is a continued story here.
Midwest city as another major headline today as Vance Belter sentenced in the killing of several state lawmakers and their husband in that city last summer. We're going to continue on here on Live Now from Fox, bringing to the conversation Corin Hoggard with the latest. Corin, thank you so much for joining us. What did we learn today? What was the sentencing that came down?
Yeah, Andy, the judge here sentenced the assassin to 2 consecutive life sentences, plus another 40 years in federal prison. So essentially, he's going to spend the rest of his...
Hell yeah, extra surprise. Appreciate the 10 joules. Appreciate that. Let's go, says W.
His life in prison. And the judge has overseen a lot of cases, thousands of cases. He says this is the harshest punishment he's ever handed down. And he said it was well-deserved, especially after he heard from a lot of the survivors.
It's over, but it's never over.
Melissa Hortman's family waited almost 14 months for this judgment day to share with the world what was taken.
She was a force, and her husband was a wonderful man, and the world is a poorer place without them both. So we will miss them.
That's just special. They were loved that much. We love them so much. They missed them.
Friends and family remembered Mark for his smile and creativity, and Melissa for her humanity in a political world that sometimes loses it. And they let the judge and the killer know the black hole left behind. Their son, Colin Hortman, said, quote, "The blood that was spilled is the last thing I see before I sleep and the first thing I see when I wake," end quote. His sister, Sophie, said, quote, "My entire life had been shattered in 30 seconds. My parents were dead. The dog had been shot multiple times. My brother was wrecked, and we had to stand...
Why shoot the dog, dude?
...stand up and keep going," end quote. They lived in fear until police caught the gunman, and then they had to put Gilbert down because of his injuries. Senator John Hoffman, his wife Yvette, and their daughter Hope shared their physical and emotional pain, but also their determination to fight back on that day and still to this day. The senator said, quote, "The defendant did not simply decide to take life. He attempted to silence people and send a message that violence is stronger than democracy," end quote. Senator Hoffman and several others focused on how the assassin failed in breaking the DFL's spirit and in some of his plan to kill. Representative Kristen Bonner was not at home when the...
And I remember when all this happened. This actually happened in their home.
Assassin went there. She said he's only increased her desire to serve, but the one thing he permanently took from the...
I remember breaking this story, and it was a long time ago. It was like a year and a half, something like that, a year and a half ago.
Capitol was Melissa's presence.
And our state has suffered treatments.
And I should say the assassin himself spoke one sentence in court. He said he was truly sorry for all the pain he caused. But I was in there and I was watching him, and he never once looked at the people whose pain he caused, not during his statement and not during theirs. And so that...
Yeah, hell yeah. He can't look at that. He can't face it. He can't even face himself.
Might lead people to question his sincerity.
Yeah, and people
of course
read into that body language. It speaks and says so much, even when they don't say much. Corin, I do want to ask you, what comes next in this saga? Obviously, people still very emotionally raw. You heard some of the colleagues of Melissa Hortman.
I actually didn't hear about that, Steve Easy.
What happens next in the story?
Doesn't mean I just didn't follow it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't remember that part.
Yeah, there actually is something that is happening next here. We're at the federal courthouse. This was a federal case. There's also a state case. So this federal case is wrapped up. That means the state case essentially is just beginning, and the assassin will be back in court here in Hennepin County in just a matter of days. It's less than 2 weeks now. In that case, we'll get going. And, you know, in this case, 2 life sentences, no parole. That's exactly what he can get in the state case as well, but they are going to push forward with that.
All right, very good. I know you're going to be covering that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wild story there. And apparently the reason for the motive of the killer for going after them specifically was because they were, I forget what exact words that he used, like crazy Democrats or something like that. Yeah, that's wild. All right, let's go ahead and bring this up. This next story, Saudi nuclear deal requires normalized Israel relations, Trump says. Why? Why do they have to deal with Israel at all? They should be dealing with us. What the fuck, yo? Anyways, let's go ahead and figure out Why is this even being discussed here?
Welcome back in Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. President Trump says the new agreement reached with Saudi Arabia for a civilian nuclear program will require the Saudis to normalize relations with Israel through the Abraham Accords.
Oh, I understand.
President Trump added
that makes a little bit more sense. I
the
understand.
new nuclear deal, which is expected to last 30 years and involve U.S. firms, does not allow for enrichment of uranium. The president posting this on social media in the past 24 hours saying the civil nuclear deal, there will be no enrichment of material, being made between the U.S. Department of Energy and Saudi Arabia, which pertains only to non-military use, such as the ones that Iran and UAE and others already have, will be approved, but is totally subject to Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful Abraham Accords. The United States is not opposed to civil, non-enriched nuclear facilities. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Andrea Stricker is the FDD's nuclear
You be safe out there, brother Blair.
non-proliferation expert. She's here with me. So you and I were talking about this, and I was speaking with the FDD about this yesterday. And since the time I was talking with y'all yesterday, we got this post from President Trump talking about the Saudi-Israeli normalization piece of this. From your standpoint, does that basically throw cold water on the idea of the Saudis getting this civilian nuclear program?
Well, great to be with you, Austin. Yeah, I believe that post this morning was a bit of a surprise and did cast shadow or cold water on the whole agreement because it was signed yesterday between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, and it envisions.
And we broke that news yesterday, by the way.
A 2-year study to determine whether there could be uranium enrichment in Saudi Arabia. I believe it would be a U.S. operated facility with U.S. safeguards as well as IAEA safeguards. And now we see that Trump is saying there will be no enrichment and that the whole thing is contingent upon normalization. And we've also seen Saudi officials pushing back against this, basically saying the deal is already done and it can't be renegotiated. But since it is an executive agreement by the U.S. president, it really could be canceled at any time, even before it goes to Congress for a 90-day period of review.
Let's say that eventually some sort of deal does get done and this process does move forward in Saudi Arabia. I read that some experts are concerned that the deal might lack guardrails to prevent uranium enrichment to weapons grade levels.
I also heard that that it doesn't have a real good safeguard to prevent that. So I don't know if that's true or not.
Is that a reasonable concern here?
Of course it is.
Well, it is a concern. The agreement apparently will not require Riyadh to sign an additional protocol, which is the IAEA's most enhanced inspection agreement. And so what that essentially means is if you have a U.S. operated enrichment facility, the IAEA wouldn't be able to ask to go investigate sites where the Saudis might be working on their own enrichment plant, perhaps having used espionage against the U.S. facility. And it remains unclear, in fact, if there will be black box controls on a U.S. facility or if there will be Saudi officials.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, Steve.
And scientists that are able to go in and learn about the technology to be able to produce centrifuges on their own. And that's actually something that we saw the AQ Khan network do when AQ Khan of Pakistan went to the Netherlands and stole uranium centrifuge blueprints and was able to start Pakistan's uranium enrichment pathway to nuclear weapons. So I think that's a big red flag here that we would consider building this type of plant in Saudi Arabia without the necessary inspection mechanism. And I hope that Trump will sort of walk this thing back and use caution.
So what it is the deal, if it were to go through, it doesn't have where they have to be inspected, right? And a lot of these, the ways that we make sure that they're not going into weapons levels because they're inspected. Anyways, we understand that. We got to move on. We have still a handful of stories to go through here. U.S. forces launch more strikes to hold Iran accountable, quote unquote, by the way. So let's go and figure out what is being talked about for the 13th night of strikes here.
You're watching live
consecutive nights, by the way.
I'm Austin Westfall, a live look at the White House. We're getting some breaking news about 9:15 in the nation's capital. We are hearing of a 13th night of strikes, U.S. Central Command confirming such. And we're also seeing some news coming from the New York Times and even other news outlets saying that President Trump gave a ceasefire proposal to the Iraqi prime minister, and then the Iraqi prime minister giving that to the Iranians, and Iran has rejected that proposal. The New York Times and their reporters reporting on this story, and we here at Live Now have been tracking this conflict from every angle we possibly can, and as we come on the air tonight, we have Marine Traffic's live depiction of the Strait of Hormuz. Let's check in with retired Marine Intelligence Officer, National Security.
Yes, W. They're bringing on Hal Kempfer. Let's go.
Analyst and the host of the Strap podcast, Hal Kempfer. He's
Anytime that motherfucker comes up, I know I'm actually getting the scoop.
here
you
with
know?
me. Hal, this notion of the Iraqis in D.C. visiting in the Oval Office just days ago, getting a ceasefire proposal from President Trump and then bringing it to the Iranians, it's an interesting idea. And now we're hearing that the Iranians have rejected it. Your reaction to what we're learning about the Iraqis' involvement in, could we say, mediating for the time being?
Austin, we're using the Iraqi prime minister to carry a ceasefire proposal to basically the Iranians, which is a rather unusual route. Kind of tells you where negotiations are, that we don't have another way to get that proposal to them. I don't know, maybe the president thought that would carry more weight if it came from the Iraqi prime minister.
I just sped him up a little bit.
After visiting, Washington, D.C. and the White House. But obviously the Iranians decide to go public and say, nope, we're turning it down. And we don't know what's in it. It's not quite clear what the proposal has. That's still very vague. Not sure if we added anything or took anything away. I would hope there was something in there about reopening the Strait of Hormuz. That would be kind of logical, but we just don't know what's in it. So it's rather unusual. And of course, now I'm kind of wondering with the Strait of Hormuz, we got the other problem is the Houthis have corked up the Bab el-Mandeb Strait on the Red Sea. So that's having enormous issue.
And what he's talking about in particular right there regarding a whole different strait. And let me go ahead and show you guys that are new here. This is the Strait of Hormuz up there, obviously by Iran. And then down here by Yemen, a little bit south, southwest, I suppose. And this strait right here is what he's specifically talking about in this moment, because there is a naval blockade right now, right there, only against Saudi Arabia, though, quote unquote, kind of thing. So, and that's a retaliation towards, because Saudi Arabia just struck the Yemen Houthi rebels airport up here. They did that last week. And so this is now the response of the Houthi rebels that there is a blockade for Saudi Arabia in particular. So real quick, let me go back to this. My apologies. There we go.
Issues across the board. You got two critical waterways that are essentially blocked.
Yes, it is overtime, by the way. You know what they say? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Send in your freaking money. Absolutely.
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking.
Now that's what I call a freaking W. All right, let's go ahead and get into this.
And of course, the price of oil spiked up over $100 a barrel. So today was a bigger issue than what we had, say, a few days ago.
And of course, we continue to look for any and all updates coming from President Trump's Truth Social account. I'm looking for more updates from CENTCOM. Oftentimes, the way these things go every night is we get an initial post from the U.S. military saying that there is, in fact, yet another round of strikes happening for another consecutive night. And then a little bit after that, we'll get a more substantive update that says sort of a longer readout, if you will, about what's happened once the day's missions are complete, if you will. U.S. CENTCOM sending this out, saying U.S. forces started another night of strikes against Iranian military targets at 6:40.
Yo, Adam, if you're that fucking dense that you didn't understand that it was a joke, that's fucking hilarious, bro.
5 p.m. Eastern time today. It's the
Wow.
13th consecutive night of strikes.
Seymour Cannabis, good morning to you, by the way.
Aim to hold Iran accountable and diminish threats from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to commercial shipping. How many nights, Hal, have we now been sitting here reading a very similar message on TV every night? But something interesting coming across yesterday. I know it piqued your interest that the U.S. is using B-1Bs once again. Why is that significant?
These are heavy bombers. We haven't seen, now in the first part of the war before April 11th ceasefire, we did see the use of heavy bombers. We saw B-1B
Hey, April 11th is my birthday, by the way.
bombers. We saw B-52s. Of course, everyone remembers that spectacular strike in June of last year, where we used B-2 stealth bombers on that long-range strike to take out those nuclear sites. So we have seen our array of heavy bombers, but now the B-1Bs, they've been used in the war on terror. They're very effective. They've been used in these more of a tactical role, and they're not. They technically can go supersonic. They're normally subsonic, but they carry a phenomenal amount of ordnance. And just to give everyone an idea, we hear about F-16s and F-18s, like that fly, F-18s flying from the carriers. They can carry about 4 2,000-pound bombs. A B-1B can carry 24 2,000-pound bombs. And trust me, a 2,000-pound bomb is a really big warhead. If you've ever seen it actually in action, it's huge. So that's very, very significant. Even a F-35, when it flies stealth, they can only carry 2. Although if they have external pods, they lose their stealth characteristics. They can carry up to 6. But still, B-1Bs provide an ability to put a lot of ordnance onto a target area very quickly. Something that in some cases would take, not a full squadron, but a couple, like a half a squadron to cover. So it's pretty tremendous. And B-1Bs don't normally fly by themselves. They usually fly in, 2 or 4 or something like that. So if I was to look at hitting particular sites, for example, maybe an island out in the Gulf, near the Strait of Hormuz, I would want to be able to fly B-1Bs in there because I know I can put a tremendous amount of ordnance on the ground at a variety of targets. These are JDAMs, so they're precision guided. In a very short period of time, the sort of thing that I'd want to be able to do if I was doing an amphibious raid or an amphibious assault. So I do find the introduction.
Real quick, I know down here in the description, they actually said what they targeted real quick. So CENTCOM targeted Iranian military command centers, drone storage facilities, communication networks, coastal surveillance sites, and maritime capabilities to further diminish the threat Iran poses to civil mariners and commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that's the same rhetoric that we've seen in basically the last 13 nights. We've seen there's a couple of nights that really did stand out, but they're this kind of the same thing that is being targeted. Just wanted to
these bombers
announce
to
that.
be rather significant. And of course, the response by the Iranians was to threaten the bases where they came, or the base where it came from in England, which was rather interesting.
Time will tell. Perhaps we'll get a little more clarity on what was used tonight. I'd be curious to know if we saw some sort of stealth bomber once more. Okay, this is a post from President Trump earlier today. You mentioned the Houthi situation. I got to bring this up while we're here. He says a year ago, the U.S. attacked very powerfully the Houthis for their interference with commerce and trade by shooting at ships. Since that time, and during our conflict with Iran, they have acted very responsibly. Unfortunately, now they are starting up again, shooting at 2 Saudi Arabian ships last night. Please let this truth post serve to represent that if they do this again, the U.S. will hold Iran responsible, in that the Houthis are a surrogate and or proxy of Iran, and major military punishment will be inflicted upon Iran, and of course, the Houthis themselves, who I am very disappointed with, in that they have until now acted very professionally and smart. I got to ask you, the U.S. has struck the Houthis before. If I remember, a coalition of countries, Western countries, struck the Houthis in recent years. Where does it feel like this is going from here, Hal? The Houthis and the Saudis, there's been more friction as of late between the two.
Right. And we were just talking about the airport situation that Saudi attacked.
And now this statement from President Trump addressing the Houthis directly. What are you tracking in Yemen in the coming days?
Well, we can't let this just stand where it's at. One of the things that the East-West pipeline that shoots all the way across Saudi Arabia has been going at full tilt, about 7 million plus barrels a day, going over to a little port in the Red Sea called Yanbu. Now, the stuff that goes up to Europe goes up to the Suez Canal, but the stuff that goes to Asia, and Asia is a massive consumer of Saudi oil, that goes down to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. To get to Asia, it's got to get to the Indian Ocean, which means it goes to that strait, the very strait that the Houthis are blockading. And they reportedly fired on 2 Saudi tankers today. The Saudis, as far as I know, are not sending any more oil tankers through that strait. So this is having an immediate...
Yep. So Saudi Arabia is going straight north, going through the part where they exit out into Europe up there through this strait right here.
Immediate impact on
the north part of this strait.
Oil markets, with prices jumping up over $100 a barrel. There's a big meeting with Southeast Asian nations going on right now, where this is causing a lot of tension in the room because of the concern they have that their oil that was coming this other route has now been shut down, and they're all low on reserves as well. So this is significant. The Saudis have some days.
By the way, we have 300 people in here between both the live streams. Make sure you guys hit the like button, double tap the screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Listen, you don't have to like all this craziness, but you guys can like it from me and what we do here on Insane Wheels. So thank you.
Back, they fired on Sana'a, that major airport, that air base, or major airport, I should say, that the Houthis rely upon. And there has been a ceasefire in effect between Saudi Arabia, well, I should say between the Houthis, the Yemeni government, and the Saudis who are backing the Yemeni government That's been in place for about 5 years. But it looks like that ceasefire could fall apart, in which case you'd have a civil war break out on the ground. You'd probably have a lot of airstrikes. I imagine the Saudis would be doing a ton of airstrikes. I don't know how many airstrikes we'd be involved in this time because we're a little bit preoccupied with things over the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it has changed the dynamic a lot. And the president's trying to make it clear to them that if they go this route, that it could be catastrophic. And I think it will be catastrophic to them if they go this route. But it's going to be very difficult to counter. They're in the hills. They got drones. They got missiles.
Right.
They're well dug in. They know the territory. It's a very
going in a ground invasion is not as easy as people make it out to seem. Like, oh yeah, we just go in there and with the ground invasion, we'll fuck them up. Dude, listen, I am somebody that absolutely does not think we need to be putting boots on the ground. Okay, we definitely. I've been against this war since before the war started, and then when it happened, I'm like, okay, well, please just at least don't put boots on the ground, please. But they're not going to get what they want. Both sides are not going to get we're going to be both losers at the end of the day. That's just the way it is. All right. So, let's see. This looks like the same. It is. So you know what? We're going to skip this because this is just more about that protest, that happened over there in Wisconsin. Yeah, we don't even need to go over that. I'm sure there's extra details and news reports on it, but you know what? We covered enough on that. Let's go into Mamdani calls Netanyahu a war criminal and urges U.S. to enforce ICC warrant, which is the International Criminal Court, by the way. So let's go and bring this up. And here we go.
The mayor of New York City.
This comes out about 1 a.m. this morning, Central Standard Time for me. So it was very early in the morning when this happened.
Issuing a warning for the Prime Minister of Israel ahead of an upcoming trip to the United Nations, telling him he is not welcome in New York City. However, this is unlikely to deter the visit as the mayor's threat appears to overstep his authority. Fox's Caroline Elliott has more.
New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani escalating a public beef with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after Mamdani warned the Israeli leader he would not be welcome in NYC for September's UN General Assembly. Mamdani even vowed to arrest Netanyahu under a warrant issued by the International Criminal Court, but this week acknowledged his city does not have that authority.
The federal government, however, does. And I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant.
President Trump stated in a Truth Social post earlier this week that is not going to happen.
He's the mayor of a city, and he doesn't have the authority to go around arresting international figures, let alone heads of state.
During his mayoral run, Mamdani repeatedly pledged to have the NYPD arrest Netanyahu over his role in the war in Gaza. And even some Democrats say Mamdani should focus on an NYC-first agenda.
The mayor is clearly obsessed with this issue. He should probably be a little more obsessed with making sure that his city is running well and that he's picking up the trash and fixing the potholes.
Others are supportive.
Arrest him. He's a war criminal. If he needs help, tell him to call me.
And New York City's Jewish groups have also condemned Mamdani's remarks. The United Jewish Teachers Coalition has asked the NYPD to step up security around Jewish religious observances, which begin this week. In New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
And Mamdani, as you just saw, did post a video on social media on Tuesday night telling Benjamin Netanyahu he is not welcome in New York City.
Oh, he made an actual video. Ooh, okay. They're about to play it.
Also saying Netanyahu is a war criminal. We want to play out that video posted by Mayor Mamdani earlier this week on X.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire. The list goes on and on, all as we, as Americans, pay for the bombs that do the killing. There is a reason the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest. As human beings, we have spent generations building a shared understanding that there are crimes so grave they offend all of humanity. Anyone, with their eyes, with their heart, with their conscience, should recognize the devastation he has wrought and understand that he belongs before a court of law. As I've said, I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes, as I do for anyone else charged by the ICC. My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant if Benjamin Netanyahu came.
Of course not.
It is clear
the United States doesn't recognize the ICC. Okay, that's been like that for a long time.
that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant. And I want to be equally clear. Benjamin Netanyahu is not welcome in New York City, nor is any other war criminal at large. While we cannot end the genocide on our own, we can decide whether our silence will become another weapon, and we can examine every tool we have to defend the humanity and dignity of all people. That is my commitment to you.
Wow.
We just heard the New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani speaking about Netanyahu's visit to New York in September, and also speaking about the warrant for Netanyahu's arrest that was issued by the International Criminal Court.
All right. Listen, I don't need him to give us any international law on. I don't need that. We already know what the deal is. All right. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough. That wraps us up for the morning. Listen, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday. And then of course we got members only on Saturday morning, man. So anyways, we'll be back here I guess we're going to be back for more madness tomorrow, which is members only. So if you guys got a gifted sub or became subs or any of that, or members, during this week, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's a good time, man. Hit the like button on the way out. And listen, God bless all of you guys. We'll see you guys here. If I don't see the rest of you guys, I'll see you guys on Monday morning. So anyways, much love. See you guys.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges.